Takadosh Boker or Chodesh Tov, Erev Shabbat Kodesh. Yeah, Masechet Bava Kamma Daf Tzadik Tet Amud Aleph 99a1. We are going to be in the top of the page. We're going to start. We're talking about. You remember the last year we were speaking about the what happens. Imagine right now you come and you give wool to somebody to paint the wool. So what happened was that the pot burnt it. He has to give him the value of the tzemen. Demet simro'in, the value of the tzemen.
Better again.
Yeah. Demet simro v'shivcho. Yeah. No. He says the value of the tzemen and the shevach. No. So lavik dichol leachar nefila. Are we not talking about that it burnt after it was already in the pot and it already started getting some of the colors? Diika shivcha. That you have the shevach, right? Ushma mina, we learn from here, uman koneh b'shevach kli, that the uman is going to acquire b'shevach kli. So last time, John Jack, we gave the example. What does it mean, uman koneh b'shevach kli? There's a very beautiful shita in Ilchot Gitin. Not everyone does it. That basically what happened is that, for example, you have a piece of paper. Uman is a craftsman. Yeah, a craftsman. Somebody that does a umanut is a craft. A craft is a trade, is a profession. So imagine right now you have a case of a piece of paper. Where do you write the get on? Any type of piece of paper. You could come, you buy, they usually buy these papers that they use for drawing, right? But really, it's mamash, it's a regular piece.
You're going to leave from the tree.
Yeah, but it's mamash, piece of paper. What happens? Comes a sofer and he writes a beautiful get. When he writes a beautiful get, you're not going to tell me it's the same thing, a piece of paper and a beautiful get. So therefore, there's some shitot in Ilchot Gitin that say, Uman koneh b'shevach kli. What does that mean? That now that the sofer came and he wrote it down, now he acquires this get because since it went up in value so much, and beforehand it was a 30-cent piece of paper, and now it's a get which is worth a lot of money, right? And it's very difficult to write. So therefore, he acquires it again. So if he acquires it again, he has to again give it back to the husband, to the Baal, in order that he should acquire it. So that's the concept. Uman koneh b'shevach keli. The uman, the craftsman, he's going to acquire this utensil because it went up in value. B'shevach kli, that it would become better.
Rough the stone.
That's it. Amar Shemuel says Shemuel. Hacham ma'iskin, what are we dealing with? Kegon shekdicho b'shat nefila. It burnt it immediately. B'shat nefila. Meaning, it wasn't that it went inside the pot. It's cooking. It's getting all the tzaba, the tseva. And only afterwards did it get burnt. Immediately when it fell in, boom, it burnt it. And therefore, since yidicho b'shat nefila, teleka shivcha, there's no shevach at all. Okay? Aval, but, yidicho le'achar nefila mai, what happens if it does burn it after it already fell inside? You have to pay both, the tzemen and the shevach. The value of the wool and the fact that it appreciated in value. Okay, so lema Shmuel let the Ravasi. So it comes out that Shmuel doesn't hold the Ravasi. So Amalecha Shmuel is going to answer you. What are we dealing with? Kegon, for example, the tzemen v'samamanim the balabait. The tzemen and the samanim they belong to the balabait. The tzaba agad yedehu deshakin, and the tzaba is not taking. Right? He comes and he says. He's only taking the schar of peula, which is sviat semen. So in such a case, Ravasi agrees that the uman is not koneh b'shevach kli, but the shevach is coming through the samanim al balabait, and therefore the uman is only just a poel sachir. Meaning like this. I'm going to ask you a question. Usually, if you have, I'll give you an example. You have a wig. The wig was not you come and you're going to dye the wig. You give it to a woman, you pay her, and a peanit, and she's going to come, the wig macher, whatever you want to call her, right? And she's going to come and she's going to dye, right, the wig. Who pays for the dye? Who brings the dye?
She brings it.
Who's she?
The peanit.
The peanit. So usually it's a peanit. So beforehand, if the wig was worth nothing, because it was a terrible color, you couldn't even use anything, and now she comes and she's making it, so that I could have a havamina. You know what? Uman koneh b'shevach kli. Because she came in. I'm going to ask you a question. Imagine right now, you come and you bring it to the Peanit, and you bring her the tzeva. You bring her the tzeva, right? לצבוע את זה. שהיא תעשה לך את זה. אז עכשיו, לכו לעלמא, הוא לא קונה בשבח כלי, בגלל הוא רק שכיר. he's just a worker.
זה נהפך להיות...
זאת אומרת, זה מה שהוא אומר פה. הוא אומר, וצבג על ידי ודשקיל, what does that mean? צביעת הצמר באותם הצביעים, he comes and he says, רב אסי is מודה שאין הקונה, אין האומן קונה בשבח כלי. Why? The shevach is coming through the סממים of the בעל הבית. And the uman is only a poel sachir bilvad. So because of that, that's our case. So at the Gemara Yihachi, if so, noten de metzimro v'samanim ibaile. So 1 second. Why does he only have to pay for the tzemer? He should pay for the tzemer and for the samamanim as well. You understood? One more time. If he gave the dye, if he was the one that gave the tzviya, the tzeva, so you don't have to pay only just for the tzemer. You have to pay for the tzemer and you have to pay for the tzviya as well, for the tzeva. So, Ela Shmuel Bechuri Kamadchile, you're right. Shmuel, he was pushing off the raya that we're going like Ravasi, and therefore he says that we could say that our Mishnah is talking about that it was Beshata and Nefilah, that there's no Shevach whatsoever, but Shmuel himself holds like Ravasi. So the Gemara is now going to ask another question, Ravasi. Tashema, Hanoten talito leuman. Imagine you give your talit to an uman. Gemaro, he fixed it. Veodio, and he tells him, Afilu mikam v'adatzarei yamim, even if it's going to be from now until 10 days, he's not going to be over on the Isur of Ikuv Sachar, which is written in Parashat Kedoshim, Parashat Kitetse, right? It's written, and therefore, right, he's going to be over on this. So he comes and he says, right, Natnalo, but if he gave it to him, in the middle of the day, once it was shkiat hachama, over alav mishum baltalin. You understand what happened? You come and you bring me something to fix. I can tell you I fixed it. Even for 10 days. I told you, but you never received it. As long as you didn't receive it, there's no lotalin, baltalin. There's no isur. נכון. אז כל זמן שהוא לא קיבל את זה, זאת אומרת, כל זמן שזה לא בידיים שלו, even if it's going to pass 10 days, there's no isur of baltalin. You have to pay him on the same day. The second that you receive it, even if you received it in the middle of the day, ממש באמצע יום, שקיעת החמה, יכול להיות אפילו 3 שעות, you know, in the middle of the day, whatever it is, שקיעת החמה, boom, עובר על בלטלים. Okay? That's what he says. כיוון ששקע עליו החמה, עובר משום בלטלים. בישראל, then now you're going to tell me, right, אומן קונה בשבח כלי, that the אומן is going to acquire בשבח כלי, why is he going to be over on בלטלים? It's his. It's his. Meaning like this, beforehand, it belonged to you. You gave it to me. I fixed it. I was konet. So if it's mine, why in the world, right, is it going to be now? You're buying it from me. It's not that you're paying a worker. אני קניתי את זה. כשתיקנתי את זה, זה שלי עכשיו. אתה קונה משהו ממני. בסדר, אז תביא לי את הכסף מחר או מחרתיים, זה לא משנה, אבל זה לא בלטלין. בלטלין means that it's yours, but you have to pay me for my work. No, you're buying it from me. It's mine. I acquired it with Sheva Keli. Yeah?
Excuse me, Rabbi.
Amar Ramari Bered Rav Kahana. Says Ramari Bered Rav Kahana. Begarda de Sarbela de Leka Shivcha. Here we're talking about in a case where the Uman comes and he's renting him in order to be Mesarek Verakech et Ami'il. So he's coming, he's combing, and he's doing all these things. The Leka Shivcha, that there's no Shevach. And therefore, since there's not going to be any Shevach, so therefore it's a completely different halacha. Okay? So says the Gemara, sof, l'ma yahaveni ale. Says 1 second. Why did he give him the clothing? L'rakuche, in order to make it softer. Kevin the rikuche, once he made it softer, that's a Shevach. And then again, he acquires it. So says the Gemara, lo tzicha, what are we dealing with? The agre lebitche. That means he was socher the uman lidroch ala beged, to step on it. Okay,
no, they used to make it soft with beitot, and they used to pay
step on it and all these things in order to make it softer.
And they used to pay it with the prutot al kol beita.
Bicha bemata. On every single beita, they used to come and used to make the money. And that is the svirut. Okay, but according to what we taught at the beginning, the lo agre lebiche. That means, what happens if you're only doing it for kablanut and not according to the minyana being taught? Mesayeleh, so this actually comes to help us. Rav Sheshat, Rav Sheshat, they asked the question of Rav Sheshat, Bekablanut. Over alav mishum bal talin, or eno alav. Meaning by kablanut, are you going to be over on bal talin or not? From Rav Sheshat, Rav Sheshat said yes. Also on kablanut, you're going to be over on bal talin. So says the Gemara, Leima de Rav Sheshat, pliga de Rav Asi. Why don't we just say that Rav Sheshat told you to Rav Asi?
Rabbi,
yes.
You know that 99.
Says the Gemara, 1 second. Well, so then it's going to be considered schirut. So here it comes out that there's actually going to be a machloket by kablanut. Is a person over on bal talin or not bal talin? So Leima de Rav Sheshat, pliga de Rav Asi. So why don't we just say that Rav Sheshat, that he says that by kablanut there is an isur bal talin? Why don't we say that argues on Rav Asi that he says uman is kodeh b'shevach. So Amar Shmuel bar Acha says Shmuel bar Acha b'shlicha di garta. No, we're talking about a shliach that's basically he's like a mailman, that he's giving a letter, he's taking a letter from one place to another. So therefore, that is kablanut, okay? But it's not mashbiach anything. Meaning it is kablanut because you get paid for the job. You're not getting paid per hour. But it doesn't make it any better. You're taking the physical envelope A and you're taking and transporting it to place B. But there's no, it's not that it's appreciating. There's nothing there. So says the Gemara, what don't we just say? It's a machloket tanaim. Aseli sherim nizamim etabaot vekadesh lach. Right? Imagine a person comes and he tells a woman, right? The woman comes and she gives these pieces of gold to a goldsmith. I think it's called goldsmith. And she tells him, you know what? You make me a nice ring or a nice how do you call this? Bracelet, right? And all the, and then I'm going to get married to you. That means the reward, meaning the payment is going to be that I'm going to get married, right? Exactly. So that the payment is that I get married to you with that. He comes and he says, Kevin Shasam Mekudeshet. Once he made it, she's married to him. These are words that have been made.
Okay.
Because basically, instead of her paying him money, he's basically buying her, meaning he's being mekadesh ota b'kesef hazeh, with this money that she's chayevet on making of the bracelets.
Okay.
Okay, 1 second. Chachamim omrim ena mekudeshet shegiya mamon yada. Says no, it's not why the money actually has to get to her hands. So it means that no, don't do combinot and all that. No. The money has to come to her hands. Tashomea en combinot. Okay, that's Chachamim. My mamon. Ma ze mamon? Ilema leoto mamon. If you're going to tell me now it's the same money, miklad Rabbi Meir savar oto mamon lo. Are you going to tell me that according to Rabbi Meir, we're not talking about the money, that's the melacha? Ela b'ma mekacha. So how she mekudeshet them? For kiddushin, it has to be a certain. Where's the kiddushin? Ela pshita my mamon acher. According to it, has to be other money. I mean, that means according to Shitat Rabbi Meir, you're giving the tachshatit that's already enough. Right? But according to Chachamim, you have to give another money. And they actually say, the chiyuv starts from the beginning until the end. And everybody holds that you cannot make a kiddushin through a milveh, which means this. If I borrow money, right? If a woman comes and she borrows money, and now all of a sudden she comes and she says, you know what? I'm going to get paid, right? Instead of paying me back, right?
I'm going to be mekadesh.
Exactly. No, you cannot be mekadesh b'milveh, right? You have to actually have my love. So says we're not talking about now that there's machloket is the uman koneh b'shevach kli. That means savar uman koneh b'shevach kli. Rabbanan savar uman koneh b'shevach. That it's not going to be koneh b'shevach kli. So says no. Everybody holds and uman koneh b'shevach kli. But here, the machloket is there schirut from the beginning until then? Rabbi Meir holds that there's no schirut, which means the chiyuv to pay is only when he finishes. Therefore, once he finishes, right, and then he's giving her the tachshitim mushlam, now he's mitchayev to pay on that, and therefore it's not a milveh lifnechen. So, since it's not a milveh lifnechen, he could be mekadesh ota b'mechilat scharo, by forgiving his wages. But Rabbanan Savri, the rabbis hold, there's the obligation of paying the schirut from the beginning until the end, and therefore it's like a milveh. So therefore she's not going to be married. That's going to be one answer. Everyone understood? Meaning that according to this, it comes out that he's not going to be married. Why? Because from the beginning, she was already chayav to pay him. So you could answer another answer. That according to everybody, it's from the beginning until the end, the schirut that you have to pay. And here there is a machloket whether you can be mekadesh with a milveh or not. Rabbi means savar hamkadesh b'milveh mekudeshet. That if you're going to be mekadesh b'milveh, you're going to be mekudeshet. Rabbanan Savra and the rabbis hold hamkadesh b'milveh and mekudeshet. You're not going to be married with a milveh. So the tetamubet 99b. Rava Amar. There's a fourth way of explaining the machloket, because we just gave now the v'bayit ema, which was the third way, and then the other way as well. There was the second way. He comes and he says this. Rava Amar dechule alma, according to everybody, yeshna letzchirut mi'etchila v'ad sof. Right, which means that the second that you give something to somebody to start working on it, it does exist the concept that you're already obligated to him in money. Nafkamina, why don't we stop after an hour of work or things like that? You understand? So he says, yeshna letzchirut mi'etchila v'ad sof. Techule alma mekadesh b'milveh mekudeshet. And according to everybody, if you're going to be mekadesh b'milveh, you're not going to be mekudeshet. U'tchule alma, according to everybody, enu mam kodesh v'chli, that you're not going to acquire with a shebachli. So what are we dealing with? He added in on the takshit, and therefore he gave her mamon gamur. Meaning, who will see as a even ktana, who will see as a mashu. גולד, בדיוק. ברגע שהוא שם יותר, וזה יהיה משלו, אז בגלל זה, זהו. אז עכשיו הוא נתן את האקסטרה. So במיל סבר, מילווה ופרוטה, דייתה פרוטה. She had a milveh. What's a milveh? The work. But he gave her also a pruta with a milveh. He gave her something else. He gave her the extra even. So by doing that, milveh pruta, data pruta, and therefore she's going to be married. According to Rabbanan, milveh pruta, data milveh. The diet is also on the milveh, and that's why she's not going to be married. Uplukta dani tanai, and this is actually another machloket tanaim. The Tanis we learned in the Braita. Bischar she'asiti imach ena kudeshet. Imagine a person comes and he says, "Kachili get married to me with a schar that I have to actually get from you." She's not going to be married, right? Imagine a plumber comes, he does the job, he comes and he says, "Okay, you're married to me with the wages of what you owe me." And I'm mekudeshet. She's not going to be mekudeshet. Exactly. He says, why? Because it's a milveh. It's the milveh doesn't help. Okay? Baschar she'eseimach, but if it's on the future, then I'm going to do for you a work, and then you're going to, so then mekudeshet. Rabbi Natan says, Ischar she'eseimach and mekudeshet, v'chol sheken, the more so, Ischar she'asiti imach. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Omer Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, באמת אמרו, בין בשכר שעשיתי עמה, בין בשכר שעשה עמך, אינה מקודשת. ויוסיף לה נופך משלו, מקודשת. But if he does add an extra stone, she's going to be מקודשת. So it says, whether it's a Tana Kama or Rabbi Natan, the difference between them is going to be, the machlok between them is going to be schirut. בשכר שעשה עמך, which means, what is the chiyuv schar of the peula? Tana Kama holds that it's only going to be at the end, and therefore the kiddushin is going to be done. Right, and that's why she's going to be mikudeshet. And according to Rabbi Natan, it's from the beginning until the end, and therefore it's not going to be a good kiddushin. And whether it's Rabbi Natan or Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, kabenayu milveh pruta, to do with the entire machloka between if you give a milveh but then you add a pruta, is it datal the pruta or datal is on the milveh and the pruta? That's the machloket over there. Sama Shmuel says, right now we're going to go to another halacha, right, which is basically so it comes out the machloket between Rabbi Min Chachamim is actually another machloket between Rabbi Natan and Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Now we're going to speak about now a tabach. So imagine a cook. Amar Shemuel, tabach uman shekilkel. Right? Imagine right now you have a tabach uman. Tabach uman is like a shochet mumche. And he went and he made a nevela. Chayav l'shalem, he's obligated to pay. Why? This is maziku. Posheahu. Right? Naasa ki omer lo shechot li mikan v'shechal lo mikan. It comes out that he's a mazik and he's a poshea. Why? Because the Baalim told him do shkita here and he did it in a different way and therefore he destroyed it. So imagine he has to pay. Nowadays, they're actually very, very lucky. The way that it was, I remember, again, I can't say for America, but I remember in Europe, they had a whole bunch of animals, and then the shochet used to come and slaughter. And then he used to say, okay, I'm taking this one and this one and this one, but I'm not taking the other ones. And then the other animals, you should just go to a regular goyish slaughterhouse. So it wasn't that kilu that you're taking the animal and then you have, because if you're taking the animal, you have a big problem then. But then it becomes a trefa, you just lost the value of an entire animal. So it means it's much more difficult, you understand? So obviously it all depends on how it is, okay? But fine. So what happens is that he's actually obligated to pay if he made a nevela. So says the Gemara, why did I have to say that he's also a mazik and that he's a poshea? Just say he's a mazik and that's it. So Iyamar maziku says the Gemara, if it would have only said about mazik, I would have thought say that's only if he's getting paid. He's doing a bechinam. I would say that bemet, he's going to be a shomer chinam. He's only going to be chayav on pshia. That's why it had to say it. Kamash malan posheahu. So he's not only just a mazik, he's a mazik and a
Posher.
poshea. Because that means that let's say he was doing it bechinam b'shulcha. אז הוא שומר חינם. אז אם הוא עושה את זה בחינם ואז הוא קלקל, הוא פטור, הוא לא פושע. אז גמרא לא, הוא מזיק וגם פושע. וממילא הוא חייב לשלם לך, אם באמת הוא קלקל את זה. אוקיי? הוא עשה את זה נבלה. אוקיי? Fine. 8th way, we're going to ask the following question.
בגלל שהוא לא כזה מומחה, שהוא יכול לעשות את זה.
So, now the says the Gemara, okay? After we just said that he's a poshea, so he's going to be obligated. 8th way, right? Rabbi Kamma bar Uriah l'Shmuel. So Rabbi Kamma bar Uriah comes and he asks Shmuel, Hanoten be'emal tabach. If a person gives an animal to a tabach, a shochet, v'nibla, and he made it, v'nibla uman, right? V'nibla, sorry, he made it into a nevela. Uman, if he's going to be an uman, he's going to be patur min l'shalem. Hedyot, he's going to be chayav l'shalem. V'im noten sachar, but if he's giving wages, ben hedyot, ben uman chayav. So here, this is the question. Maybe this is what you're referring to, the doctor, right? John Jack, that we were talking about the entire concept that if you give it to the tabach, it all depends. If he's an uman, maybe he's a mumche, so then he's going to be patur. But if he's going to be not a mumche, he's going to be chayav. But if you pay, he's always chayav. Doesn't matter what. He's always going to be chayav. So Elmaleh comes and he says, lekar mochacha, yitbalbel mochacha. What does that mean? He comes and he says over here, it's a klala, meaning that Shmuel was actually cursing the one that asked the question, because it looked like he had chisaron in kvod Torah. Because just like Shmuel already told you to the other Talmid that he asked, he also was cursed. The tshuva is it already in the actual concept that Shmuel already said. Etzem uvda, the Talmidim, they didn't realize it themselves, show, right, that kilu, that they were saying that it was all bechinam. And therefore he went and he said, in order to come and to like humble them. You understand, kilu, pay attention basically. So atahu menabanan kamotivne. So Tamid came and he asked the question. Elmaleh hashta shekal ma'ide shekal chaverecha. Says now you're going to get what your friend. That means you're going to get the same punishment that your friend just got. Kamina lechuana. I already told you Rabbi Meir that kamruti li Rabbanan. I'm telling you shitat Rabbi Meir. You're telling me shitat Rabbanan. Meaning what's going on exactly? Amaydo diak tamile. Why aren't you not medaktek in your words? Shani omer bezai say maziku posheahu. So naseh keomer shechol lo mikan v'shechal lo mikan. Meaning it's like he told him to slaughter over here and he slaughtered over there. So man it lehaisara, who's the one that holds that svara? It's a bimir. Daman mi because he should have actually paid attention not to be mazik his friend. So if he didn't do that, he's considered a poshea. And since he's considered a poshea, he's obligated to pay. Hi Rabbi Meir, which Rabbi Meir? Right? Elim, if you're going to tell me now it's Rabbi Meir, right? Of the okay, there's a siman here. We learned on the Mishnah, what happens if the Baal Ashur comes and he ties the ox, right, with a chevel? And he locks it up, and it goes out and damages. Whether it's a tam or a muad, he's going to be chayav. These are the words that we need, right? But there, hatam bikrepli. There's a machloket in the pasuk. Meaning, there's a machloket. Do you have to give a very shmina me'aliyah or not? You remember we already learned this in Bava Kamma. Are you obligated to watch over your shore a shmina me'aliyah or not? And then we had a whole thing that maybe a shor muad less, a shor tam more, or both of them yes. And that, so there's a machloket. What's the pshat in the pasuk? But here, the Rabbi of the Mishnah, it's not, we just learned, right? The litzbua lo adom utzval shachor. Not right now you came and you give it to a person that dyes the crafts or whatever it is, and now you gave it to him to do it red, and he did it black. Black, he did it red. Rabbi Meir holds noten lo dmet simro. You give him the tzemen, right? Hatam over there, yadam kelao mineh, right? With his own hands, he actually burnt it. So ela Rabbi Meir, but there's another Rabbi Meir. The Tanyas we learned to the right that nishbira kado velo silka nafla gamalo. Imagine somebody's jug falls and it breaks, and he left it there. He left it in the middle. It's broken there. And all of a sudden, a gamal falls. Right? Or a gamal falls. Another case, right? And also he didn't pick it up. The Meir says he's going to be chayav and nizikin because it's like a board. And Chachamim says he's going to be patur min dinei adam. Right? V'chayav dinei shemayim. The Kaimelans, we actually passed in. Right? The nitkal posheahu. The plige. This nitkal is actually considered a poshea. And he's actually going to be a machloket, which means we actually have a machloket that if the kad came and fell and it broke, and then it damages afterwards, there's going to be a machloket between Rabbi Meir, right? That he holds that Misha Nitkal is considered a poshea because he wasn't Nizhar Yoter, right? And according to Chachamim, the Nitkal is not a poshea. So according to Shitat Rabbi Meir, right, it comes out that a person that's not going to be careful, right, is considered a poshea, and that's the din that we're talking about here about the tabach uman, the exact same thing. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, tabach uman shekilkel is going to be chayav. He says, you know why? ואפילו אומן, even if he's going to be a אומן, כטבחי ציפורי, like the big בקיאים, right, ממש, that they were experts in everything, they're also going to be chayav. So he says, why? He says, Umi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, does Rabbi Yochanan actually say that? There was in the Bet Knesset of Maon. And he told them, Zil aiti raya de mamchil tanegolim v'patrach. He comes and he says, go bring a raya that you're a mumchet to be shochet tanegolim, and then I'm going to make you patur. So it comes out that Rabbi Yochanan holds that a tabach uman is not going to be chayav, even if he wasn't mekalkel in the shechita. He's not going to be chayav. Hu kilkel, אבל לא משנה, אבל הוא אומן, הוא בקי, he's an expert. So it says, it's not a question. Kam bechinam, kam beschar. It all depends whether he was paid or not. We already mentioned that if it's for free, he's patur. If he's getting paid, then he's going to be chayav. Ki hada amar Rabbi Zera, just like we saw Rabbi Zera, harotze shitchayev lo tabach, yagdim lo dinar. Give him even a dinar. Meaning the guy's so smart. You come and you pay him even a little bit amount. The second you give him $1, or you give him something, right? Even though you didn't pay the real amount, but you gave him something.
Responsible.
Boom, that's it. He's responsible. Mate, so they ask the following question now. Hamolech hitim litchon, right? Velo letatan, right? Vasan lesubin ulmursan, kemach lenachtom, vasau patni poli, right? Ve'emal tabach v'nibla. So imagine you give right now chitim to grind them, and what happened was he put it in the water before the tchina, and then he made it into subin ulmursan, right? Or for example, he gave kemach to the nachtom to bake, and he made patni pulim, which is basically it's like it breaks away, so it doesn't, meaning you pick it up and it all breaks. Or you gave a be'emal tabach v'nibla. So in all these cases, he damaged it. He's going to be chayav. What does that mean? That means, right, like a noseh sachar. Right? Why? Because even though he didn't actually mekabel sachar, right, it's uman mekalkel is considered a posheh, and therefore he's going to be chayav. So answers the Gemara, because he is getting money. Meaning the fact that he's getting money, that's why he's going to be obligated and pay. There was a story of a be'emah from Gumnata that came in front of Rav. Okay? And Tarfe. And what happened was he made it into Taref. And he said that he's going to be patur. So Pagube, Rav Kahana, Rav Asi, Gavra, son of Kahana, and Rav Asi found him. Amru Levi, Avid Bach Rav Tarte. He said he did 2 dvarim. Yeah? Yeshte dvarim. Yeah? Maza shte dvarim. My Tarte. Ilema Tarte legriuta. If you're going to tell me it's 2 things for bad, that you should have said it was going to be okay, like Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, tarfe, and then he made it taref like Rabbanan, v'inami Rabbanan. Even if you're going to do it like Rabbanan, you should have made the tabach chayav. Can you actually say that? That Tanya we learned that לא יאמר אני מזכה וחבריי מחייבים, אבל מה אעשה? שחבריי רבו עליי, ועל זה נאמר הולך להכין מגלה סוד, which means this. Imagine right now we're bedin. We're 3 people here. We're bedin. And they come to us for a psak, and we give a psak. I cannot come afterwards and say, תשמע מרדכי, סליחה, אני הייתי בצד שלך. אבל מה אני אעשה? חבריי רבו עליי, היה 2 היה 2 כנגדי, והם אמרו לי שלא, וגמרנו, אז זהו. זה פשוט נקרא הולך להכיל מגלה סוד. למה? כן, בדיוק, למה? בגלל אז הוא מדבר לחילוט. הוא חייב להסכים איתם. כן, בגלל הוא, לא רק הוא חייב להסכים, הוא אסור לו להגיד לבעל דין שאני הייתי בצד שלך. בגלל אז הוא מקבל בראוני פוינטס, הוא מקבל כאילו נקודות, וזה אסור, בגלל אז הוא אומר לחילוט על האחרים. זאת אומרת, כולנו באותו צף.
יש קבינט, הקבינט החליט.
בדיוק.
יש בורד, הבורד החליט.
בדיוק. לא אני ככה ואתה ככה והוא ככה ואני ככה.
לא, הבורד החליט.
וזהו.
לא, הכל צריך ליפול על הפרזידנט.
בדיוק. אלא תרתי למעליותה. אבל there are 2 דברים which are good. זה לא הוכלך ספק איסורה. That he's not giving you a ספק איסור. ומנח מספק גזלה and also ספק גזלה. Meaning there were 2 things. First of all, ספק איסור and ספק גזלה. And he took you out of both. Because now there's no איסור and there's no גזלה. So it's מצוין. Itmar, it was stated. Hamare dinar l'shulchani. If somebody shows money to a shulchani, to a tradesman, איך אומרים? חלפן. בעברית. A money changer. A money changer. כן, חלפן. זה נקרא שולחני. ונמצא רע. And it's found to be bad. Okay? So he says, Tani Chada, we learned in one of them, Uman is going to be patur, Vediot is going to be chayav, Tani Idach, Ben Uman and Vediot chayav, you're always going to be chayav. So Rav Papa says, Ki Tanya, when do we learn an Uman is going to be patur? Kegon, Danku ve'isur, Telot Sichel and Migmar Klal. We're talking about 2 different people, 2 shulchanim doing that they don't even have to learn. They're experts. So therefore, that's what we said that Uman is going to be chayav. We're talking about the other shulchanim, which they're not experts that much. Ela b'mai ta'u. So what was the mistake then? Ta'u b'sikta chata dahi shata d'avik mituta sikta. He said they made a mistake in the tzura chadasha v'matbea, that it started coming out, and they came and they made a mistake in it, and that's why it was actually going to become a problem. They said it was kasher, and it really wasn't kasher. Okay, they said that this money is good, and it really wasn't good. So he itita de achzeya dinara leRabbi Chia. There was a woman that she showed a coin to Rabbi Chia. Amarla, and he told her me'alyahu, it's a good coin. The next day she came, and she told them, I showed it to you. And they told me it was bad. And they didn't want to accept it. Amarle, he told them, go change it. And write in my pinkas that it was a bad deal. Meaning, כאילו הוא אמר, טוב, תחליף את זה בשבילה ותכתוב שאני הפסדתי עכשיו כסף. ומה ישנה דנקו ואיסור דפתירה משום דלא צריך למגמר. Says 1 second, why is it that these two people, they didn't have to learn? They didn't have to learn more. And Rabbi Chia, yes, like what's going on? So Rabbi Chia, לפנים משורת הדין הוא דעבד. Rabbi Chia was always doing לפנים משורת הדין. הוא עשה מעל ומעבר. כי דתני רב יוסף, והודתם להם את הדרך זה בית חייהם. את הדרך is גמילות חסדים, ילכו is ביקור חולים, but you go with your feet, בה is קבורה, to bury, את המעשה is the דין, is the בית דין, אשר יעשו is לפנים משורת הדין.